Imagine walking into a store and being told, before you buy anything, you must pay us first. It sounds like a terrible business idea. No luxury displays, no endless choices, just giant shelves, concrete floors, and products stacked on pallets. Yet millions of people happily pay every year for the right to shop there. That store is Costco. But why would anyone pay money just to spend more money? The answer reveals one of the strangest and smartest business models in modern retail history. Hello, my friend. Welcome back. Today, we are going inside the story of Costco, a company built on a strange idea. Charge people to shop, then work hard to save them money. Stay with me until the end, because we will discover why Costco sometimes chooses to earn less today to build something far more valuable tomorrow. Trust. Long before Costco existed, there was another man with a bold idea. His name was Sol Price. He believed stores could succeed by selling goods in large quantities, keeping costs low, and asking customers to pay a membership fee. A young Jim Sinegal worked with him and watched closely. He learned how prices, trust, and efficiency could work together. Jim did not know it yet, but these lessons would shape his future. One day, the student would take his teacher's ideas and build something even bigger. Working with Sol Price, Jim Sinegal learned a powerful lesson. Do not ask how much you can charge a customer. Ask how little you can charge while still running a healthy business. Keep costs low. Buy wisely. Never waste the customer's money. This simple idea stayed with Jim for years. But he still needed one thing, the chance to build a company of his own. In 1976, Sol Price opened Price Club in San Diego, California. The idea seemed strange. Customers had to pay a membership fee before they could shop. Inside, there were no elegant displays or fancy decorations. Products were sold in large quantities from a simple warehouse. In return, members received something valuable: lower prices. At first, Price Club focused mainly on business customers, but the idea quickly proved something important. People were willing to give up luxury if the savings were real. Price Club had proved that the strange membership idea could actually work. More importantly, Price Club revealed what customers truly cared about. Customers did not need beautiful stores or endless choices. They wanted real savings and good value. For Jim, the lesson was now clear. Customers would accept simplicity if the value was strong enough. But he still did not have a company of his own. Then, in Seattle, another man saw the same opportunity, and everything was about to change. In Seattle, a businessman named Jeff Brotman saw something special in the warehouse club idea. He understood retail, and he believed the model could work in the Pacific Northwest. But he needed someone who truly understood how to run it. So he contacted Jim Sinegal. Jim had years of experience, a deep knowledge of low-cost retail, and lessons learned directly from Sol Price. Together, Brotman and Sinegal began planning a new kind of warehouse store, one built on low prices, membership, efficiency, and long-term trust. In 1983, Jim Sinegal and Jeff Brotman opened the first Costco warehouse in Seattle, Washington. It was simple, large, and built around one promise: give members good products at low prices. There were no luxury displays, only efficiency and value. Few people could imagine what this ordinary warehouse might become. But opening one store was easy compared with the challenge ahead. Could this strange membership idea work on a much larger scale? Costco soon did something very different from traditional supermarkets. It offered fewer choices. Instead of filling its shelves with dozens of similar brands, Costco selected only a small number of products it believed offered strong quality and value. This made shopping simpler, but it also gave Costco more power. By buying huge quantities of fewer items, the company could negotiate lower prices from suppliers. Less choice meant lower costs, faster inventory, and better deals for members. Sometimes, giving customers less can actually give them more. At Costco, products often stay on simple pallets instead of beautiful shelves. This is not an accident. Fancy displays cost money, and Costco tries to remove costs that do not improve the product. Goods can move quickly from trucks to the warehouse floor with less handling. The store may look simple, but that simplicity helps keep prices low for members. Costco's membership card is not just a ticket to enter the store. It is the heart of the business. Members pay a yearly fee, so Costco must give them a reason to return and renew. That creates a powerful promise. Keep prices low, protect value, and make customers feel their membership is worth it. Instead of trying to make the most money from every product, Costco focuses on building a long relationship. And that changes the most important question the company asks. Costco follows a surprising rule. Do not make too much profit from a single product. If prices rise too high, members may stop trusting the store. So Costco keeps its margins low and focuses on long-term loyalty. The goal is not to win one sale. It is to make customers return again and again. Sometimes, earning less today can create much more value tomorrow. Costco's real strength comes from the way it buys. Because the company sells fewer products, it can purchase enormous quantities of each one. That gives Costco strong power when negotiating with suppliers. Lower buying prices mean Costco can keep prices low for members while still running a healthy business. Products also move quickly through the warehouses, so less money is trapped in unsold inventory. Behind the simple shelves is a powerful machine. Buy big, move fast, waste less, and pass the savings back to the customer. Costco also makes shopping feel like a treasure hunt. Some products appear for only a short time, then disappear. A special television, a rare food, or a surprising piece of furniture may be there today and gone tomorrow. That creates excitement. Customers do not only come for what they need, they also come to discover what unexpected deal might be waiting inside. The strange system was working, but even Jim Sinegal could not yet know how fast it would grow. Within only a few years, Costco was about to reach a number that shocked the retail world. Costco's growth was extraordinary. In less than 6 years, the company went from zero to more than $3 billion in annual sales. It did not grow through luxury or endless advertising. It grew because people trusted the value they received. More members joined, more warehouses opened, and the system became stronger. If you enjoy learning English through stories like this, please subscribe and continue the journey with me. Because Costco's biggest turning point was still ahead. As Costco grew, Price Club was growing too. The teacher and the student had become leaders of two powerful warehouse businesses. But instead of fighting forever, their paths came together again. In 1993, Costco and Price Club agreed to merge. For Jim Sinegal, this was more than a business deal. Years earlier, he had been the young employee learning from Sol Price. Now the teacher's company and the student's company were becoming one. The circle was closing. But Costco was entering a completely new chapter. The 1993 merger created a new company called Price Costco. Together, the two businesses had more than 200 locations and billions of dollars in annual sales. What began as Sol Price's warehouse experiment had now joined forces with the company built by his former student. The merger gave them greater buying power, more members, and a much larger network of stores. But the name Price Costco would not last forever. Soon, another change would come, and the company would return to the simple name the world knows today, Costco. After the merger, the company was known as Price Costco for several years, but in 1997, it returned to the simpler name, Costco. By then, the business was stronger, larger, and ready to expand even further. But even before the Costco name officially returned, the company had already created something that would become one of its greatest strengths. A private brand called Kirkland Signature. 2 years earlier, in 1995, Costco had introduced a new name, Kirkland Signature. Instead of creating many different private labels, Costco placed one trusted name across hundreds of products, from food and clothing to household goods. The goal was simple: offer quality equal to, or better than, famous brands at a lower price. Slowly, customers began to trust the Kirkland name itself. Costco was no longer only selling other companies' products. It was building a brand of its own, and that brand would become one of its greatest strengths. The name Kirkland came from Kirkland, Washington, where Costco once had its headquarters. What began as the name of a small city soon appeared on products in millions of homes. But one Costco item would become even more famous than the Kirkland name itself. It was simple, cheap, and strangely powerful. A hot dog and soda that would become a symbol of Costco's promise. For decades, Costco has kept one famous deal almost unchanged: a hot dog and soda for just $1.50. At first, it looks like a small thing, but to Costco, it represents something much bigger. The company wants members to leave feeling that they received real value. The hot dog is not only food, it is a promise. Costco could charge more, but keeping the price low sends members a simple message. Even as the company grows bigger, its promise of value should not change. Sometimes, protecting trust is worth more than a few extra dollars of profit. Costco's code of ethics follows a surprising order: obey the law, take care of members, take care of employees, and respect suppliers. Only after these responsibilities comes the goal of rewarding shareholders. This order reveals something important. Costco believes long-term profit begins with trust. Take care of people first, and the business can become stronger over time. Jim Sinegal believed that a strong company should take care of the people who serve its customers. Costco became known for paying competitive wages, offering benefits, and promoting many workers from inside the company. Sinegal often visited warehouses and spoke directly with employees, listening to their ideas and concerns. He believed loyal workers could create loyal customers. But Costco was becoming larger every year, and that created a difficult question. Could the company protect these values as it grew into a global giant? In 2012, Jim Sinegal stepped down as CEO of Costco after decades of leadership. Craig Jelinek took his place. For the company, this was a major test. Costco had been shaped by Sinegal's ideas about low prices, loyal employees, and long-term trust. Now the question was simple. Could Costco keep the same culture without the man who helped build it? But no company this large is perfect. As Costco expanded, it faced questions about packaging, environmental impact, supply chains, and labor relations. Critics asked whether a business built on low prices could always protect workers and suppliers. Costco made efforts to improve, but the challenges remained. Growth creates opportunity, but it also creates responsibility, and Costco was no exception. In 2025, Costco faced a serious test when thousands of union workers threatened to strike during contract negotiations. For a company famous for treating employees well, the dispute attracted attention. Workers wanted better pay, stronger benefits, and a greater share of the company's success. Costco and the union eventually reached an agreement, avoiding a major strike. The moment revealed an important truth. Good values are not something a company can claim once and forget. They must be protected, questioned, and proven again as the business continues to grow. More than 40 years after the first Costco opened in Seattle, that simple warehouse idea has become a global business. The buildings grew larger, the number of members multiplied, and the company expanded far beyond America. Yet the original test never changed. Keep costs low, offer real value, and make the membership feel worthwhile. Costco became a giant, but its future still depends on one simple question. Is coming back worth it? Costco sells food, televisions, clothes, furniture, and thousands of everyday products. But its most valuable product may be something you cannot place in a shopping cart: trust. Members return because they believe Costco will protect value, keep prices fair, and make their membership worthwhile. Kirkland, the $1.50 hot dog, and the simple warehouse all support the same promise. Costco did not become powerful by asking how much it could take from each customer. It grew by asking how much value it could keep giving back. And now we can answer the question from the beginning. People are willing to pay before they shop because Costco has spent decades making them believe that membership will give that money back in value. Learning English can work the same way. You do not need thousands of new words at once. Choose a few useful words, hear them often, and use them again and again. Costco grew by focusing on less, but doing it better. Your English can grow the same way, slowly, simply and consistently. Small progress today can become something much bigger tomorrow. Thank you for staying with me until the end, my friend. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and continue learning English with InkWell English. And tell me in the comments, would you pay to shop at Costco? Yes or no? Before you go, imagine another American company built on a very different idea. Not giant warehouses, but speed, simplicity, and one famous meal. It began with two brothers and a small restaurant in California. That company was McDonald's. I will see you in the next story.